This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Economic Times, in its editorial titled Welcome Decision on Inclusive 5G Trials, says it is welcome that the government has allowed all vendors, including Chinese ones, Huawei in particular, to take part in 5G trials in India. This is not just a decision on matters telecom, nor it is a bilateral diplomatic matter between India and China. The Chinese government has welcomed India's move. It is a geopolitical decision. The US has been lobbying countries around the world to blacklist Huawei for 5G equipment. India needs to expand its strategic ties with the US, true, but so also with China. India neither has to nor is in a position to humbly carry out American bidding on choice of technology. It must calibrate its actions, evaluating the costs and benefits of not succumbing to superpower blackmail to crush a rising technology giant in the emerging world. Britain, once America's closest allies, decided when Theresa May was Prime Minister to allow Huawei into the country's 5G ecosystem but keep it out of co-operations. Huawei is cost competitive in the extreme. To bar Huawei on mere suspicion is to deprive Indian consumers of ultra-fast, low-latency telecom that is also cheap. Huawei's presence pressures Ericsson, Nokia and Samsung to keep their prices low, offering telcos wider choice in 5G kit. The real problem is India's lack of technological competence in telecom, whether to deploy homemade 5G gear or even to test and verify externally supplied gear for vulnerabilities. India cannot sustain its strategic autonomy without indigenous capability in advanced communications and computing. Since private companies have shown little stomach for high-risk R&D, the government should set up new public enterprises in these strategic sectors as well as in artificial intelligence. Encouraging university-level R&D is vital but not sufficient. The Hindustan Times, in its editorial titled Why PM Modi's Focus on Groundwater is Critical, comments on 25th December, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Atal Bhujal scheme to strengthen the institutional framework for participatory groundwater management and bringing about behavioral changes at the community level for sustainable groundwater resource management. For now, the scheme will be implemented in Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. The PM has personally led the initiative to make water management a key focus area in this term in office. In his first Mann Ki Baat address after his re-election, he pitched for water conservation to be made into a mass movement. The decision to focus on the groundwater crisis is a good one because its over-exploitation is contributing to, as stated by Niti Aayog, the worst water crisis in India's history. Groundwater is one of the most important water sources in India, accounting for 63% of all irrigation water and over 80% of the rural and urban domestic water supplies. And participatory groundwater management is the key way of tackling the crisis. In fact, villagers in Andhra Pradesh have already shown how aquifer management and sharing of bore wells can ensure equitable distribution of water. It's time to build on these positive experiences of community water management. The Indian Express, in its editorial titled The Kohli Era, writes, there is no doubt that Indian cricket is in the Kohli era. His batting is praised by Viv Richards and he has won a historic test series in Australia, something no Indian captain has done before. His fitness is aped by newcomers. He is respected by peers and old-timers. He has been named in the Wisden T20 team of the decade. And Virat Kohli is a star even on social media scene. The English conditions and in particular James Anderson was supposed to be his Achilles heel, but he overcame it not with bossiness but with calculated caution. Not a shot was played in anger against an aging Anderson even after he was well settled. Barring the mind-boggling swat click with which he drags balls to the mid-wicket boundary, his shots are steeped in cricketing tradition. He takes risks to cut out risks. He would show the daring and the skill needed to take risks before facing a ball but would turn into a conservative once the ball is delivered. He stands way outside the crease on bouncy tracks in Australia, shuffles to the off-stump guard in England and South Africa, out-of-the-box thinking that batsmen talk about but seldom have the confidence to try out in the middle. He is the aggressive face of the opposition on field, but at times his reactions are unexpected, like when Kagiso Rabada needled him before the 50-over World Cup. His response was respectful. When an Indian crowd booed Steve Smith because of controversy over ball tampering, he urged them to applaud the Australian. He supported Glenn Maxwell for putting his health before the game. He won't comment on whether the pink ball or 4D tests are the game's future, but offers his take on demonetization. Unpredictable he may be, but